It's not just tourists vanishing, it's billions of dollars bleeding out of U.S. towns and cities. In 2025, America is facing a silent boycott, and the numbers don't lie. Foreign travel spending is down 7%, and key international markets are pulling out. Why? Tariffs, visa crackdowns, and one name, Trump. What began as political posturing has become economic pain, and the states that rely on global visitors are paying for it in lost jobs, shuttered shops, and collapsing communities. From the southern border to the Great Lakes, the backlash is real, and it starts with the country closest to home. Let's dive into the 10 countries that are turning away from the U.S. and the states that are going to pay the price. Before we move on, hit the like button to boost this video in the algorithm and support our work. Number 10. Canada. In 2025, America's neighbor to the north is no longer packing up for U.S. road trips. Canadian travel to the United States has plunged by 35%, according to a Forbes report, leading to a projected $4 billion loss in spending. Border states like New York, Vermont, and Washington are already seeing the impact: half-empty outlet malls, declining hotel bookings, and fading tourist seasons. What's fueling the exodus? A mix of politics and policy. Canadians cite Trump's rhetoric, rising entry hassles, and a strong push to vacation local as top reasons to stay home. And when 20 million Canadians annually contribute billions to U.S. state economies, this kind of pullback is more than symbolic. It's a full-scale retreat. Niagara Falls businesses are reporting their worst summer in a decade. In upstate towns, restaurant owners and shopkeepers are begging for relief, and it's just the beginning. With Ottawa advising against travel and Canadian media fueling boycott momentum, this chill is turning into a deep freeze, one that American states never saw coming. Number 9. Mexico. The shockwaves from America's strained foreign ties don't have to travel far to hit hard. Right across the southern border, Mexico, once the top source of inbound tourists to the U.S., has seen a dramatic pullback. According to the U.S. National Travel and Tourism Office, Mexican visits to the United States dropped by over 12% in the first half of 2025. That's hundreds of thousands fewer travelers, especially in places like Texas, California, Arizona, and Nevada. Why? Mexico's government hasn't hidden its frustration with Trump-era rhetoric and policies. The reemergence of hardline immigration enforcement and anti-Mexican remarks have triggered not just social backlash, but organized boycotts. Mexican influencers and travel agencies have openly promoted Destino Alternativo campaigns, urging citizens to spend their vacations in Spain, Canada, or even within Mexico's own beach towns. And the impact on American border states is real. Retail outlets, family-run hotels, and restaurants that rely on Mexican foot traffic, especially in places like El Paso, San Diego, and Tucson, have reported double-digit sales declines since February. Some tour companies in Southern California have even shut down weekday operations entirely. With relations between Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum cooling to a diplomatic freeze, the path to recovery won't be quick. Unless the rhetoric changes, millions in tourism dollars will continue to evaporate, state by state. Number 8. United Kingdom. Across the Atlantic, one of America's oldest allies is rethinking its vacation plans. In 2025, British tourism to the U.S. took a nosedive. According to Visit Britain, there's been a 14% decline in UK travelers visiting the United States compared to the same period last year. The reason? Politics. British newspapers and travel blogs have flooded with headlines like, "Trump's America isn't worth the hassle." Many cite increased airport scrutiny, confusing visa processing, and hostile online rhetoric from U.S. officials as major deterrents. For British tourists who once considered New York or Florida their go-to holiday destination, cities like Lisbon, Barcelona, and even Cape Town are becoming new favorites. The state-level fallout? Florida, California, and New York, 3 of the top states for British visitors, have reported the steepest hotel vacancy increases since 2019. Florida in particular is feeling the sting. British tourists were once among the biggest overseas spenders at Orlando's theme parks and Miami's luxury resorts. Now, travel analysts are warning of a domino effect. If this diplomatic chill deepens, British airlines may start reducing US-bound flights, hitting airport economies hard. With UK influencers publicly urging followers to avoid politically unstable destinations, America's soft power and tourism revenue is bleeding from across the pond. Number 7. France. France, once one of America's most enthusiastic cultural partners, is now slamming the brakes on bilateral enthusiasm, and the financial toll is hitting hard. In 2025, French travel to the U.S. dropped by 18% compared to the previous year, according to a joint report from the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. Commerce Department. The message behind the decline? Political disillusionment. From Paris to Marseille, growing anti-Trump sentiment is driving a travel boycott of iconic American destinations. Tour operators have begun quietly rerouting clients to Canada, Mexico, and even Australia. In cities like New Orleans, which relies heavily on French heritage tourism, hotel bookings from French nationals are at their lowest since 2011. The ripple effect is crashing into local economies. Worse still, French investors are increasingly reluctant to fund new ventures in the U.S. tourism and hospitality sectors. Industry insiders say projects in Miami and Los Angeles have stalled due to image concerns, many citing American instability and unpredictability as key risk factors. As one Paris-based travel executive told Reuters, "When your clients ask whether they'll be welcomed in the U.S. anymore, you stop booking the tickets." Number 6. Germany. Germany's reversal is more economic than emotional, but just as severe. Once a top 3 European contributor to U.S. tourism spending, German visitors are now canceling trips en masse. In Q2 of 2025 alone, German bookings for U.S. vacations fell 21% year-on-year. And behind it lies a double blow: rising transatlantic airfare and worsening political optics. U.S.-German tensions over trade, defense contributions, and climate accords have ignited a sense of disenchantment, particularly among young professionals and retirees, historically a strong demographic for long-haul travel. Cities like Chicago and San Francisco, both of which benefit from German business tourism, are already reporting conference cancellations and delayed bookings. According to the American Hotel and Lodging Association, German tourist spending in the U.S. could shrink by nearly $1.2 billion this year if the current trend continues. That's not just bad for airlines and hotels. It's devastating for hospitality workers, tour guides, and small business owners who count on international dollars to survive. In Frankfurt and Berlin, new polling shows over 55% of citizens now view America as an undesirable destination. For a country that once filled New York City's Christmas markets and Grand Canyon bus tours, this is a dramatic and financially painful reversal. Number 5. Denmark. Denmark might not top the list of U.S. tourism powerhouses, but when it comes to transatlantic sentiment, its retreat is telling. In spring 2025, Danish travel agencies reported a 26% drop in U.S. bookings compared to the same period in 2023. Why? The answer lies in growing discomfort with America's political climate, especially among younger travelers. A joint survey by Copenhagen University and Eurostat found that over 40% of Danes aged 18-35 now avoid the U.S. entirely, citing racial tensions, gun violence, and visa hurdles as key deterrents. The economic ripple hits harder than expected. California and New York, two of the top destinations for Danish tourists, are reporting softening occupancy rates in boutique hotels and Airbnb rentals, popular with European visitors. Copenhagen-based airline SAS has also begun scaling back transatlantic routes to U.S. cities, citing long-term demand shifts. Danish companies have similarly tapped the brakes. Industry insiders say green energy investors are reallocating capital toward Asia and Eastern Europe, seeing American instability as too risky for long-term plays. What once was a warm Nordic-American relationship is cooling fast, and the U.S. states that counted on steady Danish traffic are already feeling the frost. Number 4. South Korea. Now this one stings. South Korea's shift away from the U.S. isn't just a tourism story, it's a tech and investment warning siren. Following a wave of controversial visa revocations for South Korean students in May 2025, Seoul issued a rare diplomatic statement urging its citizens to exercise caution when visiting or studying in the United States. The result? A sharp 31% decline in South Korean student visa applications, especially for tech-forward universities in California, Texas, and Massachusetts. These students weren't just visiting, they were building futures, fueling STEM programs, and often transitioning into long-term roles in Silicon Valley and the U.S. chip industry. Now, many are pivoting to Canada, Australia, and the UK. Even more troubling, flagship semiconductor investments from Korean firms like Samsung are reportedly being reassessed. A June 2025 Reuters report revealed that confidence in the U.S. legal environment has weakened among Korean tech leaders, casting doubt on planned multi-billion-dollar expansions in Texas and Arizona. The backlash is already showing. Local governments in chip corridor states are scrambling to offer new incentives, while universities report noticeable gaps in Korean enrollment. America's relationship with one of its most vital Indo-Pacific partners is suddenly on shaky ground, and the fallout is being measured in billions. Number 3. Japan. Japan and the U.S. have long been allies, but even friendship has its limits, especially in a trade war. In 2025, things took a turn. According to the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Japan could lose up to $17 billion in car exports because of new U.S. auto tariffs. That's not just a diplomatic spat, it's a massive economic blow, and Tokyo is now looking elsewhere to redirect its exports. The fallout hits hardest in America's manufacturing belt. States like Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana, once booming hubs for Japanese auto investment, are now bracing for slowdowns. With Japanese automakers cutting U.S. orders and halting some plant expansions, local suppliers are facing layoffs, and communities that depended on those jobs are growing anxious. This isn't just about cars. Japan's broader investment outlook in the U.S. is cooling. Business leaders in Tokyo are starting to hedge their bets, moving future projects to Southeast Asia and even Europe. And with the yen under pressure and political tensions rising, the chill in U.S.-Japan trade ties could deepen. So when your town loses its biggest factory contract or your cousin gets laid off from the assembly line, blame the tariffs. Japan's pivot is real, and the price is being paid in heartland America. Number 2. India. India's message to Washington? We won't be bullied. In July 2025, India officially proposed retaliatory duties at the WTO in response to U.S. tariffs on electric vehicles and auto parts. New Delhi is targeting everything from American soybeans to high-end motorcycles, and that means states like Iowa and Wisconsin are in the crosshairs. The reaction is sharp and strategic. India's Ministry of Commerce stated that the U.S. actions are discriminatory and protectionist, and they're hitting back where it hurts most: politically sensitive farming regions and swing state manufacturing zones. For every dollar of lost exports, American workers are losing leverage. Beyond trade, India is pulling back on student exchange programs and slowing down tech sector partnerships. H-1B visa discussions have gone cold, and Indian investors are signaling wariness about U.S. policy volatility. That spells trouble for states like California and Texas, which have benefited from strong tech ties and Indian-led entrepreneurship. And the optics? Not great. With the U.S. pushing an America First agenda and India deepening trade and defense ties with Europe and ASEAN nations, the partnership looks more fragile than ever. The era of automatic alignment between Delhi and D.C. may be over. So whether you're a soybean farmer in the Midwest or a startup founder in Austin, the ripple effect of this diplomatic clash is coming for your bottom line. Number 1. China. This is the economic superpower that once felt unshakable. But now, China is slamming the brakes on its engagement with the U.S. in a way that no one saw coming. According to World Grain, China abruptly halted all U.S. corn and soybean orders in early July 2025. These agricultural exports were once a multi-billion-dollar pipeline straight into American farm economies. Now, they're frozen, cold, and the fallout is hitting hard. From Iowa to Illinois, farmers who once depended on Chinese buyers are sitting on unsold stockpiles. Prices have tanked, local economies are bleeding, and it's not just corn and soybeans. Chinese buyers have also begun pivoting away from U.S. tech, green energy components, and even consumer goods. It's a strategic decoupling, a slow-motion divorce between two of the world's biggest trading partners. Why now? Analysts say it's part retaliation, part redirection. Tensions over Taiwan, military escalations, and the Biden-Trump tariff legacy all combined to create a trade atmosphere so toxic, even long-standing deals are crumbling. What makes this scarier? The silence. Beijing isn't making noise. They're just quietly walking away. This move doesn't just threaten the U.S.-China trade relationship. It signals to the rest of Asia that aligning too closely with Washington could carry economic costs. And for states like Nebraska, Minnesota, and the entire rural Midwest, this might be the beginning of a long, painful reckoning. 10 countries, 10 different stories. But one clear message: the world is recalibrating its relationship with the United States. Whether it's allies quietly pulling back or rivals hitting hard with sanctions and trade freezes, the impact is real. And the pain isn't just global, it's local. American farms, factories, hotels, and college towns are all starting to feel the burn. So now the question is, can the US course correct? Or are we witnessing the start of a lasting global shift away from American dominance? If you found this video insightful, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Which country's pullback surprised you the most? And do you think this trend is reversible? We're just getting started. See you in the next one.